we do is amendment, and after all amendments are done, we'll come back and then vote the ordinance as a whole.
Move to approve to get it on the
We
floor.
have
Second.
a motion and a second to get it on the floor. Does anyone wish to offer any discussion for amendments?
I think Tim said he has some adjustments that he's looking, so I'd like
Okay.
to hear what he's got to say.
Okay.
Well, I went through this budget line by line, like we used to do. There's been years when there wasn't even a property tax increase proposed, where we sat here and went through it line by line, looked at every little thing, and says, what's the reason for that? None of that's taken place this time, which really strikes me as strange. But I have a list of lines that the proposed line was bigger than any in the last 3 years, and so I was just curious as to what those increases were. And I was going to come and talk to Doug and get my answers to that on my own. But if you want to do that now, I think that we can do that now. And if anybody else has gone through it line by line and wants to propose any cuts, then do that as well. Line 11-52500-269. I believe that's in airport.
Say that again?
What page number is that, Tim?
I can't use the new copy and give you a page number because I've highlighted them in the
You
old
said it's
copy.
an airport?
Yes.
It should be 20 something.
I got 19, municipal airport.
19 and 20, yeah. Is
What was
there-
the line number again? Tim?
119-52-500-269.
52,500, 259.
269 repair
269.
and maintenance.
Repair and maintenance.
The highest in the last 3 years has been 14, but there's 30,000 in there for the budget this year, and I was just wondering what caused that to jump like that.
Doug, here, do you remember what we talked about on maintenance? I know lighting and that goes in there.
What about the light?
Well, we've got, in other repair and maintenance, we've got vehicle maintenance, very little in that, building maintenance, very little. Then other repair and maintenance, which is basically your runway maintenance cost. Your
Right,
lighting
that's
and
where
all
we
that.
get a grant every year, get 50% of it back for the maintenance year.
Every year.
Every year. we
No
get-
different this year than other years.
Yeah, that's the
It's
10,000 up at
50.
the top.
It's 50/50 every year, up to 28,000. So in order for us to get 28,000, if we spend 28,000, is basically we'd have to have that in the budget. But we've been averaging 12,000 in the budget, and we've been going over on maintenance and stuff, on emergencies and lights and different things. So we hadn't had the money there to get that 50% back.
Well, 6,000 was in the budget for this year, which I don't really understand that because that's lower than any of the other 2 years before. Went way over that. This year projected to spend 20, but then the budget next year jumps to 30. That's a $10,000 increase to what we did this year, which was a banner year as far as how much was spent. So that just struck me as
You
unusual.
combine the two of them there, is the other building maintenance and maintenance, or is he just look,
No,
I don't know
this
what
is
he's looking
just
at.
just the lighting and all that.
Okay.
Just that other way.
We had some lightning strikes this year, it caused it to go up, 2 of them, Beacon got hit. Of course, we got insurance back on part of it, had to pay, out $1,000 deductible.
Yeah. Well, that explains why it's 20,000 this year. I just don't understand it's budgeted to jump to 30 next. I didn't know. That's
Well,
my question.
projections on the projects we got going.
I'm trying to remember.
And you'll also notice that the mowing's been took out of it this year, so that brought it down 15, which would have made it go 45.
I think that's what it was, though. You said the mowing issue to go in there.
So is it back in or is it out?
Well, that's why it would bump that up, was because you said for mowing.
Yeah, if mowing went back in there, it'd
Relation
bump it up 45 based on the number.
Well, no, you're going from say a 20 base, so,
Okay,
he's throwing 10 up
35.
there.
How long has the mowing been out?
It just got took out this year.
Well, evidently it was in the years before, and it's never been that high then.
No, it got took out as a line item, is that what you're saying?
Now, if you look up in the budget for 259, there was 15,000 budgeted last year for mowing.
Mm-hmm.
So you got
That's
21
But
in
it-
your repairs, and there's none budgeted this year, so it was moved down.
So it was.
I'm
moved
talking
into other
about-
repair and maintenance.
I'm talking about, you're saying that $20,000 is what we did this year. That's with the mowing or without the mowing? Mowing was paid for out of that line this year or not? I see that. What I'm asking him is, why is it jumping from here? That's 10,000. If that's a $15,000 difference, it's not coming out. I don't understand it. Did it come out of this line in 2012 and 2011 when it wasn't even up to 15? Where did it come out of then?
The mowing's always just been in there at the 15,000 because
As its
Evidently
own- as
not.
its own line item.
it
No,
had
it's
its
not
own
even there
line.
either, see?
And because I've been doing
Not
the
that either.
mowing, had nothing come out of it. It's just,
Mowing. See, there it's
been a number.
1,000, then nothing.
There is no actual
See,
charge
here's other
for
repair and
mowing.
maintenance. It's never been above 15,000 until this year.
So where was the,
No.
where was the mowing line item?
Stop for a second. There's no mowing charge going out there. Y'all budgeted for 15, but they're doing their own. So he was, always had it in his budget that way. That's why the 15 shows no expenses across there.
So what did it come out of?
It wasn't
I'm
paid.
I'm doing
Didn't
it
come out
for
of
nothing.
anything.
Right, he's.
You're not getting charged for it. Now you use
He's
that
doing it on his
15
own.
towards grants.
But he was
So
getting
you're putting
credit
it in the
for
budget this year.
to get credit for the fact that he was doing it on his own, so he had it to spend.
I'm
By
still
putting
not
it here, you can
following.
put it in your maintenance payback from the state, right?
Well, you have to incur it to put it
Right.
back in
You
the
get,
maintenance
yeah, you
payback.
have to incur it,
Are
and
you
part of that.
understanding
Slightly.
But that, the mowing hadn't even went into that except for the fuel and stuff. We turn, and any maintenance on the tractors.
Has it always come out of that line?
Well, I can go back, I don't
Because
remember, but
it's
I know
only
that-
been over $15,000 this year. It's only been close one other year. It was half of that before.
You don't have any expense in any of those lines. You had it in the budget to give him credit for it, but there was no expense incurred. He did it himself. Your 20,000 has nothing to do with mowing.
So is that for like an in-kind? Is it in there so it counts
Correct.
for in-kind? So
basically.
that's not even money we're gonna spend. Why does it count toward the budget?
The credit was for him to have it available to spend on project.
So that's $30,000 that's there that we're only gonna spend 15,000 of.
Well, you spent 20 this year. You didn't spend any in mowing. You're looking at 20 because you're at 16 as of February and we projected at 20. I don't know where it is exactly right this minute, but with that last lighting thing, I think it's on up there.
So is there a revenue line somewhere where this is feeding back in since we're not?
Well, you do have the very first one, the 10,000, so if you had 20, you're gonna get half of that back this year. If you have 30, you should get up to 28, so you get 14 back
Right.
in 2015, because it always comes the year after. We have to get through the year before we.
So is there a revenue line that's offsetting that?
Very first line,
Yeah, you put 10,000
33,430,
33,430?
under right above that,
the very first line in your. in your
So that's what we would get back out of it.
right.
Right, this 10 is relating to this 20, because it's, what's incurred this year, half of it comes back the next year up to 14,000.
So what we spent in 2013, half of it's gonna come back to us as revenue in 2014.
Correct.
Okay.
That 20 is where that 10's coming from.
Same
If
as
he has
next
30, then it should be 14 next year, because you can only go to 28.
So it's still, why is it jumping to 30?
The actual incurred expenses were 20, and if we're giving him the 15.
Let me back up a little bit. If the mowing's the same, why is the price of that line going up, is basically what I'm trying to understand.
You get the other 4,000.
Because we moved the 15 down to that line. If you take the 20 and if you had the 15,
Nothing was spent out of that 15 though.
that's what I'm trying to say. But the 20 was spent, not for mowing. So you got 20 actual expense. Then we budgeted him an in-kind in the past as a credit, and that's being brought down. You don't have it budgeted on the 15, you have it down there, so that's where the 30 came from.
So you're
You gave him
budgeting
10.
for 30. How much of that are you actually going to spend?
20 and 10 would be the in-kind for the mowing, which could be incurred if he doesn't continue to do all of them himself.
If I ever quit doing the mowing, it'd cost the city probably 30 to get it mowed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just charity to save y'all money.
I still don't understand it, but if y'all understand it, so be it. I just, that's a 33% jump in 1 year when it already jumped, by over 200% from 2012 to 2013. That just strikes me as a little unusual.
Well, it was 14, then 9, and then 20, actual expense with no mowing in it. And then the mowing budget was up there, and the
It was 8,800 in 2012.
And
It's going to 20 in 2013, so that's more than a 200% jump.
2011.
Then you're
was
increasing it
14,
by,
so-
you're actually increasing it by 50% from 13 to 14. That just struck me as very unusual.
They have insurance claims on about 2 or 3 that goes in there and offsets back, just like I said on the 3 accidents we had from lightning this year. It looks like it's coming out, it goes back in, but.
Well, I
on
would think it
paper,
would go down if a bunch of stuff happened this year that don't normally happen, wouldn't it?
Then a bunch of stuff happened this year.
You're saying
I
that
mean,
that
over-
13 number's high because of lightning strikes and different things that happen that don't
Well,
normally
I think we had
happen.
Probably $3,000.
Tim, I think
Okay.
you found I think it's a good point, so that we can maybe.
See, that's the thing. I was
No,
gonna
but
get
no,
with
that's
Doug.
something, identify them.
I was gonna get with Doug privately and give him this list so he
Yeah.
could kinda explain all this to me without taking up y'all's time, but everybody's saying, well, where's your cuts? And I did happen to have a few.
No, continue with them, but I'm just saying, then let them research them, and then, we can, if you got some more, continue with your list if you'd rather do that here than with Doug. It doesn't.
I'll just give Doug the list and,
Okay, that's what
and
I'm-
he can
yeah.
send that out to all of us.
Yeah,
kinda
okay.
total dollars.
And then we have time, and that's a good point.
110,000.
Was
What's
any
your
of them a
biggest
real
one?
big item, other than that one?
I'll just send it. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll take care of it on our
Because I
own.
appreciate it, because I don't
Yeah.
think it's been terribly, I don't totally understand, and I understand your logic there, so, but when they sit down and start crunching the numbers, they probably can, typically, we find the answers.
I didn't know if there was one real big item.
No, it's lots of little things like that. There's not anything that's like 6 figures or anything.
Was it gonna change it enough?
What you'll see in them last
I
budgets.
came up about $100,000 worth of
$100,000.
In
cuts.
all my budgets for the last 10 years, you'll see that I hadn't spent all that money. It's a budget thing. It never.
Oh,
came
I
out.
understand. I'm just trying to understand, Doug. I'm not trying to say you're trying to get anything over. I'm just looking for patterns and trends and trying to understand.
And we're spending a whole lot more these last 2 years for the 2 big items we're doing. So even though a lot of it's give to us, it still has to go in the budget, whether it's give to us or not. So, anything else, I'll try.
I appreciate you mowing it. Appreciate you serving.
All right, like I say, we have the budget as is what we talked about. Does anybody have any amendments to offer? And, now, remember, this is the first reading, and then after tonight, whatever is passed or not passed, we've got to have a 10-day advertising period. So that's the reason we need to try to take a first vote tonight, then have our second reading. But, so you can make changes between the first and second reading, but we need to be able to get in the paper and have our advertising time of 10 days.
Is there a percentage on the budget, I don't know if I've asked this before, that you can change the first reading approval, that if you change it by more than a certain percentage money-wise on the second reading, that's invalid and has to go because it's a substantial change? Let's just say we've approved it,
Yeah, I
you
see
had
what
10
you're saying.
days, and
Yeah.
you come back and there was a certain percentage that,
I think you're right, but I don't remember what that is.
just because if we change the budget by a few $100,000, it may say, hey, that's not sufficient now for a second reading. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I just have a couple quick questions. Also, sorry, it's stuff that we could have took care of in work study, but real quickly, why has workers' compensation money, amounts went up so much?
The premium costs at our historical rate. We have.
So it's something we have no control over, it was,
Oh, we have control
A number
over it
was
in
gave
that,
to us?
but, the incidents that we're having and the rates that are out there, our historical rate of incidents.
there are
has
several
drove
departments
it
and
up.
it's over $10,000 higher this year
Well,
than it was.
it was 200, the bill was $240,000 for workers' comp.
You know, we've had some pretty
Okay.
big
And then if you
claims
increase your payroll too, it's gonna increase your overall workers' comp,
that we've
because
had
it's based on your payroll.
through our claims and stuff.
What was the employee education and training in general government that went from 1,000 up to 12,000?
That's where I'm doing the Cassell training to get our, that, and let's see, what else did we have in there? John's education was in there.
Right. There's
And
professional things that have to be done, and then quite a bit was getting done.
was to get all the staffs up on Cassell, because we're currently, our computer system, we need some additional trainings to get it fully utilized, in my opinion. We're not utilizing it at all.
It should just be a one.
And I was, yeah, it's a 1 year and a guessing game because they hadn't given me full pricing on it yet.
And the operating supplies in general government went from 12,000 up to 38. We budgeted 12,000 last year, but we're budgeting 38.
Yeah, but look
It's
at
like
your
that in a
history of
few other
expenses.
departments, too.
Go back across and look at your history
Yeah,
of expenses.
we've actually spent
34,
37.
29, and then you went to 12 in the budget, so. The charge from Sumner County for the property taxes is nearly, was it $60-some hundred, I think. So I think we way under budgeted last year.
Okay, so for me to make sense of what I was looking at there, when I'm looking at the budget 2013,
Mm-hmm,
and I see a transfer to solid waste of 85,000,
yes. But
Uh,
actual, to the left of it, it's 296. That's the actual incurred, projected for 2013. But you gotta remember that 196,000 we transferred to pay off the debt through gas fund. It's in there.
so then it's showing now that in the 2014 budget, we're gonna transfer 150,000?
Now, if you go all the way across, it's 5464. It would have been that when you did the 192, that's why you got the big negative in there.
So is that taking into consideration the $4 increase, is what brings
Yes.
it to that?
Yeah, see this big negative right here?
Mm-hmm.
That's why. So this is unfunded with the $4 increase.
So-
We'd like
so-
$5,400 to fund
So
the
still with a $4 increase, we've still gotta kick in 5,400.
Mhm.
Okay. Y'all go ahead, I'm through for a minute.
Any other?
And planning and codes, their employee insurance is going up quite high.
Well, of course, we're adding the engineer allocated cost in there, the 15.8. The way I calculate all the insurances, I took the current, and then we added Brandon half.
Okay,
It wasn't in there, but half
Okay.
for this year.
And then part of the new engineer.
okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That answer my question.
Basically, how I did the insurance, is to let you know, is I went in by individual, took what their current rates was, just tacked on the percentage increase, and then allocated it by department,
Just look
based
around.
on the old
There's
allocation.
a huge jump there, but that would make
Yeah.
sense if Brandon's was included in it.
He was only at 50%.
Well, are we staying with state insurance? Are we staying with state insurance?
Currently,
So what we did,
we haven't had it evaluated yet, so we can't
They're in the
answer that.
process of going through that, but as of, for the budget purposes, we're staying with state
State.
numbers. And then we may, you know, which if we get a big savings, that we'll have a half a year of savings.
Yeah.
Or
And
longer, wherever it breaks out.
Because we had to give the state our intentions to stay on it, but it doesn't affect us until January 1, their increase. In the meantime is why we're trying to evaluate to see if we fall off, because we can give them, much notice was it? 30 or 40, 60-day notice not to go on, so as long as our study is done by the 1st of November, you know, and we've decided something, we could go off the state plan.
Anybody else?
Okay, now we're,
Go ahead, I'll ask that question later. It's nothing huge.
where we are, you know, to vote, of course, like I said, 7 cents is in there and $4 in there. And we need, like to come away with a vote tonight, so if anybody wants to make any amendment to either one of the reading of the revenue or to any expenses, we need to do it, so. Or are we ready to vote on the budget as a whole?
And do you want to try to amend it until we get to a workable, or do you want to vote and see how it turns out, and if that don't turn out, try something else? or-
Technically, if you kill it, you kill it. I'd rather
So we need to amend
amend
first.
it,
Okay.
so we can go away with a working document.
Yeah, we need to work.
Well, I move to amend that it reflects a $4 trash increase, but no property tax increase.
Okay. Form of a motion.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to delete the 7 cents property tax, but keep the $4 trash fee in there. Do we have a second to that motion?
I second that motion.
Okay. We have a second. Is any comments or questions on this only, what we're voting on? And I think, Tricia, on all these, probably need to come back in here. We probably need to do individual roll call votes to be sure we don't have to go back. I know it's not gonna be 100%. All right, any comments on this amendment only? We're voting on deleting the 7 cents property tax and keeping the $4 sanitation charge. Any questions on what we're voting on?
That's kind of,
Or any other kind of
Huh?
property tax.
to me, that's kind of a loaded vote, because if I vote no on this, I'm voting against the property tax, but I'm voting for the garbage sanitation.
Well, then you can offer amendment to take it out.
You can vote to amend and still, well, yeah, you can do it that way too.
Corresponding reductions to keep it about.
Well, then we'll have to vote.
See what he's saying?
You could vote yes to amend and then
Say-
vote
say
against
if
it
this-
once
if
it's
this-
amended.
I'm not for neither one of them.
Well, then the next time,
I know,
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do.
All right. Now, what,
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, you know, you
Doug,
can
Doug
just
just, and
take
I
them,
guess
yeah.
I was thinking ahead just a little bit, but
I
Doug brought up
mean, I
an
know where
important
we headed.
question. All right, we're deducting a revenue, which
Mhm.
means we got less revenue, which I don't want to assume anything, but what I gather is when we take the 7 cents out and we'd offset that direct revenue for paving, that we would delete the 210 for paving. So, that's what I guess we should have put with that motion, but we'll just do the
Keep it a
revenue.
balanced budget.
It would keep it balanced. So if we do, anytime we do any more than that, then we're gonna have to come back either in the same motion amend for deduction or do another motion to deduct in order to keep us balanced.
I think it would be helpful to amend mine to include both sides
I
at the
think
same
it probably
time.
would, Tim.
I'll change my motion to amend to also include to remove the expenditures that were going to be covered by that increased revenue.
Which is the paving. All right, and who seconded that?
I did, and I'll second that also.
Okay,
Which is
so-
not paving altogether, just additional paving.
Just the
Just the
additional,
additional
right.
Still have the 219 in there.
Right, still have to. So now we're voting on decreasing the revenue by 210 and not doing 210 of extra paving than what's in our budget. Is there any comments or questions? All right, roll call, Ms. King.
Alderman Bratton,
Yes.
Alderman Callis,
No.
Alderman Coker,
Yes.
Alderman Harbin,
No.
Vice Mayor McDowell,
No.
Alderman Menace,
No,
Alderman White.
No.
Okay. So we're leaving 7 cents in. All right. All right, is there any other amendments?
Here's your chance to take them both out.
hmm? All right. I'd like to make an amendment, we'll take them both out.
All right, what to,
Your choice, vote for or against.
Okay, and corresponding deductions.
all right, what kind of cuts to go? We need $192,000 worth
Well,
of cuts.
I'm gonna leave that to the experts, the ones that done it to start with.
Okay.
See, there's been a lot of stuff added this year that we haven't had before. And, I'm in a position with things like the art home, it's taken, I have to get into my savings occasionally to make ends meet.
Well, since we're not as
And-
familiar with the budget as the mayor and
No,
the
I'm
city
not.
recorder, we would leave it to their discretion to take that out. And that's basically what he's saying. So if it passes, it's y'all's discretion to take that out. If it passes, taking both of them out.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to take away the 7 cents and the $4 garbage with corresponding $192,000 deductions, and what, if that passes, what I do is I'd ask for a break, and then we work this out tonight before we leave to,
I'd
do
kinda
that.
like to know what the cuts are before I have to vote on it.
We
wouldn't-
You could always combine it.
Mayor, we wouldn't be voting on the $4. It's already been voted on to take it out.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass.
It didn't pass. So that's out.
But we
You're voting
didn't-
on the 7 cents now. period.
No, 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 no.
The
Combination.
amendment didn't pass.
The amendment didn't pass.
The amendment didn't
So
pass.
he's got a different amendment, it's in a different.
So it's
form.
still $4.07 as it stands right
Back to
now.
its original
Right.
form.
He's trying to amend it to take both out.
Mm.
That's voted up or down.
I'll second to get on, well, I mean, what's
Well,
gonna be
you-
cut will enter into my,
Well, I mean, you
Decision.
wanna know,
I'm not gonna vote for it, I mean, so.
okay.
you wanna know what the cuts are.
I can
before you
probably
second?
guess, but I just wanna make sure.
Uh,
It's kinda odd though, it cuts him, because we still got.
So,
That's something at the end of the day, we still
We
got to
still have
vote
to
on.
pass
Yeah.
either way.
But you can make a recommendation.
I mean, that's what with this list, I mean, did a lot of pre-work to try to get where we can make these big decisions this year, and I think it didn't work out that way. Hopefully we can move better and just leave the big decisions and,
So if I'm reading this right, by doing that, you'd have to start charging for carts again. You wouldn't hire, let's see, 3 part-time, 2 full-time here at City Hall. There wouldn't be a city engineer. There wouldn't be any new police officers, wouldn't be any new cars. That get it close?
Yeah. that'd
well,
probably be
yeah,
good.
I mean, you've got 192 out of,
It's getting pretty close.
Yeah, it's already over.
And none of those people that wouldn't be coming here would have to drive on gravel roads.
There you go.
If this fails, I have an amendment I'm gonna make too.
That's gonna be,
Well, I'm like them, I think it ought to be gone over line by line. You know, I don't know if y'all have done that or not, but, I wouldn't want to see it all took out of one or two departments.
yeah.
I'm sure there's gotta be a little bit about any department you wanna look at.
But every department didn't have some increases in it. We was very, in order to try to stay within what was all of it, we, you know, I mean, streets could have more stuff, but other departments, nothing was added to any of those, so,
Can I call
We're going
for the
ahead.
question if we utilize the cuts that Tim identified?
okay.
there hadn't been a second, I don't believe.
I second.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Mr. Bratton, you wanna go back over those? You had the trash cards.
See, trash carts was 30,
Or you at these?
under general government, under the general
Okay.
assumptions.
Yeah.
Let's see, the computer software was 40. The positions is 24,465. So what does that get you up to?
94, 265.
Now there's 94. What was approved? One new officer and one new car?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the other one. And the city engineer.
No, actually, we
There's
had
two
two officers.
officers.
Two
cars.
officers, okay,
So we'll take
okay.
it down to 1 and 1.
Well, it depends on what the numbers, I'm just throwing it out there, seeing what it comes up to.
That's another 82. And then, so we're at,
With me, I'd kinda rather have the officers than the engineer myself, but I'm just looking at numbers here.
Well, with the stormwater and all going to be coming about, I think the engineer is something we're gonna it's gonna
Well,
save us money.
that's your call, Mayor. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
make the proposal and,
I mean, that's something that's going on. We're gonna end up spending more money if we don't on that particular item. Where did that get us to?
Well, we're at 176, you need 192, so you need
Take out part-time and parts.
16 more.
It's 13.
So you need a couple thousand, which you can probably get out of expenses somewhere.
So, all right, so this is what we're gonna do is, 30,000 trash carts, the part-time, parks person, computer server, additional government staff, and 1 new officer, 1 new car.
Is there gonna be any new trucks for Baldwin Public Works?
Not in the general fund, there's not. We're talking about just general fund right now.
Well, I was thinking about the $20,000 for a new truck for the Parks Department.
That's not in here.
It's not in there.
It's not in, that's been taken out? Okay.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to take away the 7 cents and the $4, and then these cuts that we just went over, the trash cart, part-time parks, computer server, general government staff, and deleting 1, still have 1 new officer, 1 new car instead of 2,
And the additional pay.
and the additional
Yeah,
pay,
pay.
right. So yes is agreeing to these cuts, and no is saying you do not agree with this. Any comments? Everybody understand what you're voting on? That's the most important thing, that you understand what you're voting on. All right, roll call, Ms. King.
Alderman Callis,
No.
Alderman Coker,
I'll vote yes, because I'd rather have this than both increases.
Alderman Harbin,
No.
Vice Mayor McDowell,
No.
Alderman Dennis,
Yes.
Alderman White,
No.
Alderman Bratton.
No.
Okay.
What was that? 4-3?
5-2.
5-2.
All right, so we're back to
The original budget.
where we were.
I'd like
Okay.
to make an amendment to this motion that y'all follow me for a minute as I explain this motion. The 7-cent tax increase that we've assumed for paving, that 7 cents, if the math is correct, on a property owner that our tax-paying citizens that we answer to, if they live in a $200,000 home, now let's throw in a wild figure out there, a $200,000 home, a 7-cent tax increase will cost them $35 a year. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
$35 a year. If you put this $20 trash pickup fee on, it'll cost them $48 a year. So my motion is going to be to pass the 7-cent tax increase and use it in place of the trash pickup fee. In other words, the 7 cents will not be used for paving, it will be used for all the other projects that we decided we wanted to look at. And we'll keep the paving in the way it is, because that 7 cents should actually bring in a little bit more about.
So let the 7 cents take care of the $4 and let the extra of the 7 cents, put that extra revenue in the paving budget.
Plus, would also like to see a $10 fee placed on junk pickup
Above the trash.
above the trash.
Okay.
So we're not gonna pick up junk unless they pay the fee.
Well, it would be my opinion that you pick it up if it's out there and you send them a bill for it, put it on their utility bill. I
Well,
mean,
that's something what we need to do tonight would be approve, if you want to do is prove it, then we need to come back with an ordinance dictating what is junk, not junk, how we're going to do. I mean, that'll need to be need to be a little bit of time spent on really specifying. that.
Anything over and above 2
Right.
trash carts.
Your consideration needs to be permitting.
I mean, that may
as
be
opposed
what you need to
capital
pass.
tax, 'cause with renters, they'll be gone, and you won't have a way of billing.
we'll have to iron that out, but that's my,
Okay.
At $20, we were assuming our revenue would be what, 40,000? Or, I'm sorry, was it like 70,000?
I think we initially said $25, and it was like 60,000 we thought we might be able to get ish.
I think the first year
We
is
weren't
gonna
sure,
be
that
a
was based
real
on some of his
trial
numbers,
run.
but
And
thing
this-
is, we didn't know how much combining now will be, because you'll get a pickup, But, you know, somebody says, well, I'm gonna put out a couple items, and I'm gonna put out a couple more and a couple more. Now it's gonna put them all out at once, so.
I don't think anybody will have an objection to a $10 fee to have their junk hauled off. I mean, it'll cover the cost of the tipping and
We
the,
just need to
and
really
the-
specify an ordinance, you know.
as to
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
the
The
fines are.
thing,
Pay them.
I like the idea, but the thing that bothers me is how you gonna charge for the stuff you find on the side of the, that's not in a yard.
I don't know.
Well, that's,
It may just be something we
You're
have to deal
not.
with, Tim.
unless you can find ownership like we go through mail sometime. First.
This is gonna sound crazy, but it's gonna be more on a voluntary basis probably than anything if we can collect it. But I mean, I think most anyone's gonna be willing to pay $10 to
Right.
have a ditch full
And
of
then,
junk
You
taken
know,
off.
pass a good, strong ordinance and good education for the people. All right,
I just think this will cost our residents less in the long run going this route.
I think they said it was like
And I know you're gonna clear that up, but this is not brush, this is just
junk.
junk.
Exactly, not,
Okay.
Brush pickup is still free,
Okay.
and trash pickup.
And like I say, we
is still
probably
free.
will not have this ready to go by July 1, which would be okay. We need to, we really need
Have
to
to pass
put
the
it all
valuation
through our
budget.
ordinance on that. And,
but this will get us our products that we needed. This will get the police department the extra manpower and equipment that they're needing. It'll get the, additional staff and planning and codes and all the other things that's been asked for in the projects. It's not gonna solve our paving problem at this time, but it's a start. It'll help some.
All right, so Mr. McDowell had offered a motion that we have a increase property tax by 7 cents, do not have the $4 charge for sanitation, add a $10 junk pickup, and then the revenue for that will pay for this list of additions, and then this is gonna be a little bit more than that money for those, and let that go into the extra line for paving. Is that correct?
It'll generate another $18,000
Right.
more than the other would have.
Which could be a small street.
Say that one more time, make sure I understand what you just said.
To blow it down, you're gonna pull the $4 out, and you're gonna wipe off 192,000 paving. That's really the amendment.
Or you wipe off most of it.
No, $192,000.
$192,000 of it.
Yeah.
That's the $4 represents.
Instead of using that 192 for paving, it's gonna take care of the
Right.
sanitation.
We don't have an estimate of how much the $10 will generate yet, maybe 20, 30,000.
I know that an industry or something that's in a $10 million building, it's gonna cost them a little more, but, I mean, there again, if you look at the math on it, it's not a lot, and it's a lot smaller money to the person than the trash, fee would be. That would be $48 versus, much less.
How do we earmark the money that's gonna come in as the $10 a month?
Well, just going into general fund, I mean.
Can't do
How much
that.
we'll have to fund sanitation out of general fund?
Do you know how to predict for the budget?
I don't
Not
know.
right this minute, I don't know.
But you
No,
said,
I
you
mean for
but
our
you said
budget
you
year.
still had 5,000 something in sanita, or in solid waste that was still having to be kicked in,
I
so
mean, I
this
think
should
it's,
take care of all of
first year is
that.
just gonna be a good educated guess, and you're just gonna have to give you some leeway to go up or down. 'cause
Well,
it's
whatever
gonna
that
really be-
educated guess is, I'd like for it to go on paving,
Right. So,
whatever it be, if it's
let
$24,000.
sanitation fulfill itself out, and above that, go for paving.
Based on the 60, we came up with 24, because I was
That's
based
what
on
I got,
60 on 25.
24,000.
So,
I mean, it's a start.
okay. All right, so
That'd be
that's,
42,000 in paving.
It's either something like this, we're gonna keep on till we lose it all.
I know. So, you offer that form of motion?
Yes,
like
sir.
that? And we have a second. All right, we have a motion and a second, and let's go back over this so we all be sure we understand. 7 cent property tax increase, no increase on sanitation. Let the monies that we receive from the 7 cents pay for this list of additions that was on the original ordinance that we have before us. The extra monies that we generate go to paving. Look at a $10 charge on junk to get in place as quick as we can, and the monies that generate to let solid waste offset itself at $5,000, then the rest go toward paving. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and I don't know who made the second, I didn't hear it.
Steve made the second. Has anybody got any comments or questions on the amendment only? So a yes will be for the amendment, and a no will be against the amendment. Does everyone understand? All right, roll call, Ms. King.
Alderman Coker,
Can't vote for a property tax increase, no.
Alderman Harvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McDowell,
Yes.
Alderman Menace,
Only for paving, no.
Alderman White,
Yes.
Alderman Bratton,
Hmm,
Do you need to make a phone call?
I need a 5-minute break, Mayor.
Call you clerk.
I like the sound of it. But no.
Alderman Callis,
Yes.
So it passes.
Did it pass?
It passed?
Passes 4-3.
4-3.
All right, now we're back to the ordinance as a whole with this amendment. Has anyone got any questions, comments on the ordinance as a whole?
Now, somebody else can change it, I guess, now, too.
Just briefly, based on what the amendment that just got passed, what is the best guess estimate, and I know you're on the spot here, that we would have available for paving?
261,000.
I have trouble lifting that pail, I really am. I mean, I was hoping we'd get closer to them.
Number that makes sense. I don't know.
That's gonna be half of what your lowest figure was, wasn't it?
But just a third of what it takes to pave, maintenance pave the roads in the town, though. So we ought to be all right.
Well,
All right.
Maybe we take advantage of some of the options that,
Yeah, if we come back, I mean, insurance and things, who knows? So, but right now, we got to base on reality, and this is reality. So. All right, is any other amendments for the budget? All right, we're going to ask for a vote on the ordinance and the budget, which will include this amendment.
And when we get ready, as we vote this, on this assumption page, if we could, just real briefly, I'd like to just kind of make sure I know exactly what it is. We are doing, I'm trying to find my page here.
You and me, I got the list.
You got on the employees?
This is exactly what we did here. See, what I did.
Yeah. It's
So we got-
everything, I mean, really, if you take the assumption page, just mark out the 192 and mark the 210 down
We
by
got a-
192 and add 24 for the others, and that's it.
We got a 2% raise for employees. Got an engineer in there, which is partial general fund and part utilities. 2 police officers, 2 police cars, $15,000 for equipment fire department, tax module for the Casale.
Property tax.
Some additional staff for general government, computer server, part-time person in parks, trash carts.
And if this budget stayed together for the second reading, how much did you feel like it would, how much room is in the budget, would you say, just
It's spending every dollar.
at to the penny is where we are currently? Because the only
Right,
concern
we're
I
like
had,
About 218, well, it's changed just a little
Yes.
bit, but.
right,
Well, no, we earmarked that, but yeah, we're right at break even.
okay.
But now you had how much in there for rainy day?
Oh, we had 50 in for rainy
50,000
day.
in there for rainy day.
So we can cover in case insurance costs go above a couple more percentage than what we thought, we can kind of cover that, right?
Yeah.
And then we may have to make some kind of mid-year adjustment somewhere if we have to. so. All right, has anybody got any questions or comments?
I have a question before we go any further. $30,000 for the trash cans. Can we talk about that just a second?
That's when the policy we passed to start replacing them, it's quite a bit more than what originally was thought, and it's getting close to that number.
Yeah, the
It's
amount
gonna
that,
be $30,000 a year to replace the trash can?
you'll get a big, we're about to hit a big hump of it, that's what it is. I think they had about 8 or something this year, which actually built in there, so it's more like 38 to 40,000. The 30 is the additional amount, because he said based on the age, they're getting a lot more requests.
And see, that's something else they're getting back by doing this, actually is something toward, trash cart goes out before when we changed that policy to start replacing them, then that moved it up, so.
$55 a car.
So. All right. Roll call, Ms. King.
Alderman Harvin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McDowell,
yes.
Alderman Menace,
No.
Alderman White,
Yes.
Alderman Bratton,
No.
Alderman Callis,
Yes.
Alderman Coker.
No.
All right, so our budget passes 4-3.
That's first reading, right?
That's first reading. We will have the second reading will be June the 27th.
And we'll all get beat up between now and then, so who knows how that second
Right,
reading will
so-
go.
Will be advertised properly, and we need
Only
to
minute.
put time.
Compromise, speak, Jack.
I do appreciate all of your input and thoughts into this. This concludes our special call meeting without objection. Adjourned.
I like the sound of it.
It's gonna be hard.